He was charming, good-looking, smart. You sure you have the right guy?
They called him the Golden Boy. He was handsome, articulate, and brilliant. He was a man who spent his nights answering phones at a crisis hotline, talking people out of their darkest moments, while he was secretly planning his own. This is the terrifying reality of Ted Bundy. It began in 1946 in a house built on a foundation of lies. Theodore Robert Bundy grew up believing his grandparents were his parents, and his own mother was his sister. He was a shy, socially withdrawn child. But beneath that quiet exterior, something dark was flickering to life. A fascination with violence and a desperate craving for control. By the early 70s, the mask was perfect. Bundy was a psychology student at the University of Washington, a political volunteer with a bright future. But a devastating breakup with a wealthy girlfriend became a psychological tipping point. The rejection fueled a fire that would soon burn across the Pacific Northwest. Washington State. The nightmare begins. Bundy's method was as brilliant as it was cruel. He would wear a fake cast or a sling, playing on the kindness of strangers. He'd ask for a hand with his things, and in that moment of pure empathy, the trap would snap shut. Linda Ann Healy, Susan Rancourt, Brenda Ball. One by one, young college women began to vanish into the Pacific Northwest mist. But the darkness couldn't be contained. Bundy moved across state lines, his trail of blood following him through Utah and Colorado. He was an organized predator, sometimes returning to his crime scenes to revisit the horror he'd created. The law finally caught a break in 1975. A suspicious traffic stop in Utah led to an arrest and a conviction for kidnapping. But a cage couldn't hold a man who believed he was smarter than the system. In 1977, he leapt from a courthouse window in Colorado. Months later, he crawled through the ceiling of his jail cell and vanished into the night. The Golden Boy was now a fugitive, and the entire country was holding its breath. January 15th, 1978. The Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In a single night of frenzied madness, Bundy shattered the lives of 4 young women. He was becoming reckless, his violence escalating beyond anything investigators had ever seen. The trial was a circus. Ever the narcissist, Bundy represented himself, turning the courtroom into his own personal stage. But the mask was finally falling. The most damning evidence wasn't a witness or a weapon. It was a bite mark left on a victim, a physical signature of his brutality. Guilty, sentenced to death. For a decade on death row, he played one last game, confessing to over 30 murders, while suggesting the real number was much higher. Finally, on January 24, 1989, the electric chair ended the life of Theodore Robert Bundy. Bundy is gone, but his shadow still looms over us. He changed everything. How the FBI profiles killers, and how we teach our children about stranger danger. He proved that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks exactly like the person you trust the most. Sleep tight. And remember, not every smile is a friend.